Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. Look, if this is your first episode, you kind of won the lottery from my perspective because our guest today is such a neat lady. Her name is Amy Chinian. She actually has a business that both does home lice removal and sells lice removal products. It's called My Hair Helpers. We're going to talk a lot about that business, but uh, Amy's story is absolutely incredible. Her and her husband have been together since 1991, and they have seen and done all sorts of things super, super high, super, super low. She's going to talk about her faith and her relationship with her faith, talk about her family, talk about how she built her business, and just an absolutely outstanding conversation. Super excited to share it with you. So let's bring Amy onto the channel now. All right, Amy, so welcome to Salty Ginger Talk. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much. I've been so excited about being on your show. It seems I like your personality. You seem like a lot of fun.
Depends on when you catch me. I think most of the time that's true.
Yeah.
I have a hard edge to me as well, but it's not hard to get along with me. I am a pretty good time to hang around with. So we were talking before we started recording about, our podcast is entirely about trying to get people to live a purposeful life, whatever that means to them.
Right.
If you want to be a ballerina or a plumber or a lawyer or a teacher, it doesn't matter to us, but you should choose that intentionally because it's something that you're passionate about and you really enjoy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you should set your life up and go after it. Now, doesn't always start out that way. And I know you've got some twists and turns in your story as well. So I've been very excited to bring you on because your business, which is solution to head lice. So think about that, guys. Amy has built an extremely successful business solving the problem of head lice. And she'll talk a lot about that as we work through our conversation. There is no right way to do it. There is no magic bullet. You never know where things are going to lead you. And Amy discovered hers entirely out of necessity, which she will talk about. But my whole point here is if you don't take action, it's not going to happen for you. You've got to take action. So I'm done with my speech. I'm done prophesizing with that. Amy, I would love it if you could kind of walk us through your life, broad strokes, and then we'll go back and have some deeper conversation on the important points in your life and how those affected you.
Okay. I would love that. So I'm pretty much native Californian, been here a lot of years. And I married my husband in 1991. And we had 5 kids in 8 years. I did not expect that. I didn't know that was going to happen. I wouldn't give any of them back. I love them all very dearly, but I wouldn't recommend bunching it together like that. It was quite stressful, and now it's good. But yes, it was quite a handful to have that many children so close together. And I was a stay-at-home mom in Playa del Rey, California. I have a background at UCLA in communications. I always liked people, loved sales, just loved that sort of thing. But I really didn't need to support myself. My husband had a very successful car business. He's quite the entrepreneur, and he developed a car product. You've all heard of aftermarket products in cars.
Sure.
He developed a lock, and he sold that to car dealers. So it was a cash cow. He would go to car dealers, he'd show them how to make more money in the back end, and he'd have hundreds of accounts, and they were all spitting off cash because no one wants their vehicle to get stolen. So
Sure.
he would show them how to sell this on the back end, and he'd make the car dealers money, and he'd make money. So we were living quite comfortably. I've always been, simple at heart. I'm not into fancy stuff. It doesn't make you happier, but I like being comfortable. Okay. And I like staying home with my kids. So
Yeah, it's nice to know the lights aren't going to get cut off, right?
well, they almost did. That did happen. So we were living in Playa del Rey, and I was a stay-at-home mom. My kids were little, and I was pregnant with my 5th child. And all of a sudden my head started itching, this fierce itch. And I said, oh my God, this is really crazy how much my hair itches. I said to my girlfriend, she was visiting, can you just take a look at my hair? And I honestly didn't know what she was going to say, but she said these words, "You have head lice."
Ooh.
I'm like, what? This is like a third world type bug. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, what is it? And how do I get it out? I'm ready to have a baby. And it was an 11-pound baby. I was enormously out in the
Good
front.
Lord.
Very,
11 pounds?
yes.
Holy moly.
It was very uncomfortable. But um, so what happened is I found out I had head lice. I didn't grow up with lice. Like some people say, oh, yeah, we had head lice checks at the school, regularly. No, I grew up in Walnut Creek, California, never heard of lice. Okay, never had a lice check. And it was all new to me. So I said to my friend, I said, what do I do? She says, well, you just go to the store and you buy these over the counter products. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that. So bought some over the counter products, come to find out they're owned by Big Pharma and they do not work. And did that on everyone's hair and we all still had lice. So I went to the yellow pages. I said, is there anybody out there? Help, anyone out there, help me get this out of my hair. And I did. Lo and behold, I found one company, one lady. She's still in business. She's my competitor. And she came to my house. And it was the most glorious $1,500 I've ever spent. I would have spent any amount of money to know that these things were out of my hair. And she came twice, and it was $1,500 each time. And then I never thought about lice, never heard about it again for 12 years. And remember, my husband had his car business. It was going great. I was stay-at-home mom. And all of a sudden the recession came and everything went away. All the car dealers were losing their businesses. And my husband, who had car dealers as customers, he lost all of his customers. I'm thinking to myself, surely, God, you're not going to answer this prayer this way. I was just talking to God. I said, I've served you. I've been loyal. I want this prayer to be answered a different way. But lo and behold, everything went away. His office in Venice, a beautiful building, our house, even our cars died in the driveway, everything gone. And so we moved into a 500 square foot apartment up in, of all places, Calabasas. And the reason Calabasas is because our son got a scholarship to a school called Oaks Christian. It was a college prep school. And so what happened is I found myself needing to support my family. And not only did we have no money, we owed $1 million. And I remember thinking, this is like a bad dream. This is like a nightmare. But I always kept my faith and I always somehow kept my joy. And I don't really like camping, so I didn't want to be homeless. So we moved into this tiny apartment. And I remember I remember that thing that happened with the lice, and I had begun to kind of study lice, thinking, well, at least I can help out at the school if they have like a lice outbreak. They won't throw me out of the school with no money because, I can help with lice. I can help with this and art and prayer and everything. So I had started investigating lice. I found a little niche, and I bought a book online called Lice Advice. And it's by Katie Shepard, who's now my friend. And I couldn't even afford her classes were in Florida, and I couldn't afford to go to Florida. So I said, well, I closed the book up. I said, well, I guess we're good to go here. And I had my little picnic basket. I bought at a garage sale for $1. And my husband got me some products. We put them in my basket. I had no idea what I was doing. But here's the key. Nobody else did either.
Right.
They didn't know anything either. So as long as you go in and you smile and you fake it till you make it. I would go in and I'd, comb out people's hair. I was going home to home because remember, we had no money. I couldn't even afford a logo. I couldn't afford a website, absolutely nothing. All I had was my picnic basket and products and a little bit of knowledge, like itty bitty bit of knowledge.
Mm.
And I used to come home and I used to pray. I'd say, God, you made this bug. Can you help me? I don't even know how this bug operates. Like most people think it lives in your house. And they don't live in your house. There's no blood in your house. They live where there's blood. They live in your hair. So what happened is I never gave up. I just kept going. And as soon as I got a little bit of money, I had my friend make me a logo. And I thought the name, okay, My Hair Helpers. That's good. It doesn't have the word lice in it.
Mm.
I don't want to be known as the lice lady if I don't have to, but I am. So I had my friend make a logo and he made me a very rudimentary website. And we were, in the midst of going to court to try to pay off this $1 million. And I had a couple customers, word of mouth. I'd go to homes and I had no idea what I was doing. I'd comb the hair out and they'd call me back and say, is it normal to still find bugs in your hair? I said, well, I'll come back. And I was just smiling. I was super nice. And, like I said, I faked it till I made it. And then what happened is about 5 years went by and I had built up my business little by little by little. I had the website, I had my logo, I was going into school nurses and giving them my cards. And we were living in Calabasas in this tiny apartment. And my husband, he kind of became a little depressed. He wasn't doing much. He was trying to reinvent himself. He had been at the top of his game in the car business. Everybody knew him. He had 100 people working for him. So this was, being broke was just completely new to us.
Sure. Yeah.
And our son was at Oaks Christian. I drive him to the front of the school with, the celebrities' children. And I would go to the food bank in the back. And to this day, I remember that when I drive by there, I say, Lord, thank you. You fed me. I didn't go hungry. I had a roof over my head. But it was just little by little by little. And pretty soon I rented my first location. I was driving by a little place in Thousand Oaks and I happened to look over and see a for rent sign. I went and peeked in. I'm like, oh gosh, that's a tiny little room. And my husband said, it's perfect. So that was my first location. And, 5 years went by so fast. And pretty soon we were just starting to get out of debt a little bit. And he finally said to me, let me come work for you. I can put all my business knowledge into helping push this forward. And I said, yeah, let's do it. Because frankly, he was spending money trying to do other stuff and it wasn't working out.
Mm.
So I was kind of happy he said that so that we could both, combine our energy towards, building this business. So what happened is I noticed that there were calls coming from different areas in Los Angeles and calls were coming from Downey. And I'm like, where the heck is Downey? That's like so I had never been to some of these places. And so lo and behold, I started looking on Craigslist and I found a place for rent in Downey. And I said, you know what? It was so dirt cheap. To this day, I still have that location. It's been so beautiful. And then I would, open up another one. I opened one during COVID and I didn't have any customers for literally 3 years, but I just hung in there and I, wasn't paying a lot for rent, but it's an excellent location near Redondo Beach. And then my fourth location was Pasadena and my fifth location, Riverside, and my sixth location, Costa Mesa. But it was little by little by little by little. And they're all within an hour and a half of each other. So that's where we are now. And I private labeled my products. I've got them here. I'll show them later. I noticed that the chemicals don't work on lice. And people are using these horrible chemicals. So I made these beautiful non-toxic products. And they work so well. And it's like you have to dig deep though. If you go to the pharmacy, they're going to sell you a chemical and they're going to tell you it
Yep.
works, and they don't work. The lice are immune to them. And so I developed these products and private labeled them. It's They're right here, My Hair Helpers. And I made this comb and it works amazing. So I've got this on my Amazon store and I've got it on my Shopify store and my website, and I sell them in all my locations. So that's where we are today.
Wow, that is an incredible journey. And I have so
Mhm.
many
Mhm.
questions. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing that with us. The first one I want to start with is you talked a lot about your religion and your relationship with
Yeah.
God. I
Yes.
think that's such an important topic. You know, we're filming this a couple weeks
Yeah.
after this horrible incident in Utah where Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and he was very public about his faith.
Yes.
And it feels, and I'm not a religious person at all. With that said,
Okay. Okay.
I'm very respectful of it, and
Okay.
I think it's a really good thing.
Yes.
But I feel like it's something that's really missing in our society, and a lot of people get a lot of benefit out of it. I was hoping you wouldn't mind talking a little bit more about how you leaned on that faith during what were incredibly tough times. I want to talk a little bit about tough times, but I'm really interested in your relationship with your religion and how that helped you in that period.
Well, that's my favorite topic.
Let's do it.
Um, yeah, let's do it. I became a believer in Jesus Christ, a born again believer when I was 30. And God became so real to me during a very dark time for me. Um, and he made himself so real to me that nothing else mattered. So when you've got your faith in Jesus, whatever can go wrong around you, you still are on the rock of Jesus Christ. Your faith is on a rock, and the word of God becomes real, and his promises are true. And so when I read God's promises, I just repeat them back and I say, Lord, you promised this.
Mm,
You promise you'd never leave me or forsake me. He doesn't promise you're not going to go through hard things, but he says, I'll be with you and I'll be with you to the end. So I would just pray and ask God, guide me. I have no idea what I'm doing. And like I said, I get on my face and cry and say, I don't understand this bug. And you made this bug. I need your help here. And one of the promises that God has in the Word of God is that the Holy Spirit's the teacher of all things. And so I said to my Lord, if you're the teacher of all things, I'm asking you a question. I need you to help me know what to do with this bug. I don't want to leave bugs in people's hair. Um, so the answers came slowly. I still had to go through hardship, and I still had to go through kind of embarrassing moments, being, without a dime, without any money, and being at an affluent school. But the funny thing is that they elevated me. They made me head of the moms in prayer. They made me, and they gave me positions of honor. And so it could only be God. And when you're faithful to the Lord, when you're faithful, and I mean faithful is, you put Jesus as the center of your life. And that's what I did when I was 30. Anything else that can happen to you, life takes twists and turns. But Romans 8:28 says he's going to work it all together for the good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. And Charlie Kirk said that all things work together for the good. And I did have the privilege of meeting him. What a courageous young man he is, to take a stand for the truth. And I love that. I don't know how people do it these days without faith, because it is the faith that carried me through a very dark time. And, we still go through tough times, but, he promises he'll be with us. It's not Amy with Amy, it's Amy with Jesus. It's a big difference.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with me and with the audience.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of people that are skeptical,
Hmm.
and they'll point to bad things, like, if God is good, or
Hmm.
uh like, if God is so great, how come children get cancer? How come kids die of famine? How come blah blah blah?
Yeah.
Um what's your take on that? How do you interpret that through your faith?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And in the book of Genesis, it talks about, God made Adam and Eve and they ate the apple, and that's when sin entered the world. And that's when everything went haywire. So we do have a real devil, and he does roam the earth. The word of God says he roams the earth looking for that which he can devour. And so we have to understand that there is good and evil, and that if you're a believer, we win. The end of the book in Revelation says we win. And
Mm,
so I hate it when bad things happen. I have such a heart for children. I can only do my small part and remove their lice from their hair through my nonprofit. But yes, we are in a battle between good and evil, and we have to know where we stand. There's no more fence to stand on here. And what I see now is the dark and the light separating. And I told my kids, I have young adult children, and they were raised in the church. And I tell them, guys, there's no fence to stand on anymore. You've got to pick a side,
mm,
good or evil, because, we see a lot of darkness and stuff happening, especially in LA. You can wake up one morning and a whole city's gone.
yeah.
Like, really? Um, we see a lot of stuff go on. So it makes sense of the world when you know the Bible. It makes sense of the world.
I love that. And that, it's we like we were talking about earlier before we started recording, we have all sorts of different people with all sorts of different beliefs that have all sorts
Yeah.
of different experiences. What we see, though, we see some commonalities between people, and you've already talked about one of them. One of them
Hmm.
is taking action. Nothing happens unless you take action, and I think your story is a perfect example of it, because even though it's clear that your faith is the center of your life and it's the kind of the
Hmm.
central thing you build your life off
Yeah.
of, that still doesn't get you where you want to be. It's what you can lean on and what provides you strength, but it still requires you to do the work, to take the actions. And I think that's very important. But the other thing we see is what you've also talked about, is when people stop thinking what's in it for me and find something outside of themselves that's more important than themselves, that's
Hmm.
when their lives really start to flourish, head the right direction. They start seeing positive things happen in their life. And I find it so interesting that by almost every measure, at the point in your life when things just kind of the bottom fell out on you, everything had been successful up to that point. Your husband had a
Hmm.
successful business, you had five great children, you lived in a
Hmm.
great place, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you had to start over. Like, you didn't even get to start over. You had to start in a hole because you had, like, the debt from that you were talking about working through. But because you had something bigger than yourself to lean on, and there was a purpose to what you were doing with your life, it sure sounds like that's one of the things that kept you going through this whole process.
Well, that's a really good way that you phrased it, because I remember everything I owned of 25 years of marriage, I had to fit in one small closet
Mm,
when we were forced to move quickly. And I remember just holding my hands up and saying, I can't take any of this with me. And Lord, this is all yours. And like I mentioned, I didn't know how he was going to answer the prayer, um, you know, about my husband's business. I mean, he was at the top of his game. Everybody knew him. He was very successful. And poof, like in an instant, car dealerships lost their dealerships. Like, it just didn't make sense.
yeah.
But it did later. It later made sense because God gave me the idea, just to help support my family. I said, I'm gonna go home to home. And I can honestly tell you, the homes I've been in, biggest reality stars on TV. I mean, the
Mm.
places he sent me were so unbelievable. And then I've been to the scariest places in LA where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm like in a trailer park in like East LA, and a school sent me. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like really scary. But I never stopped trusting. I didn't know God's plan, but as long as you trust him and know that he has your good at heart, then you can go forward. It was never an option just to fall apart. That was not an option. I went to the food bank. My son had a scholarship to this great school. My two girls went to college on full financial aid scholarships. And then I had two little ones. And the little one, she was 10 at the time. She used to say, Mommy, you can't leave me home. It's against the law. And I said, okay. She was so cute. I said, okay, get in the car. You're coming with me. And she'd go to the homes with me while I did my nitpicking. And, to this day, she helps me run the business because she grew up in it.
Sure.
But I'm telling you, it was traumatic. It was really traumatic. And I will say, though, losing your money isn't the most traumatic thing that can happen. Okay. You lose your health, you lose a spouse, you lose a child. That's really heartbreaking.
Yes.
Losing your money is something that I'm glad it was that trial and not something else, because you can always figure out how to make ends meet. You just can. We're in America. And I always tell people, find one thing, just one, whether it be cleaning or power scrubbing, whatever it would be, and just do the one thing and do it well. Build a business around that one thing. And from there, you can hire the next person and maybe the next person. It's steps and it's layers, but get really good at one thing. Okay. And it can be simple, whatever it is. So that's something I share with people. There's a lot of good ways to make a side hustle these days. My daughter, she married a Marine. She had a side hustle watching dogs. She
Yep.
would go and watch dogs. And, you can go and take that money, invest it in crypto, invest it in something. But sometimes it's just nothing's too good if it's making income. And so that's kind of what I did was I just needed to make income. Now I have 30 ladies working for me. And, my plan is to go nationwide, little by little. And, I'm starting here in Southern California. I've got my line of products. I would like to expand my line to other hair products, but I want to have a viable solution for people to get the lice out of the hair and not this, over-the-counter products by Big Pharma. It's like
Yeah.
they sell you this stuff and you keep buying it and you still got lice. And pretty soon they end up with me and they've used all these chemicals. And I see the same thing over and over.
Yeah, it's I love your one thing. I always use Henry Ford as the example because Henry Ford is famous for the assembly line, right? So
Okay.
that's great. But what Henry Ford did was got really,
Mhm.
really good at making automobiles so that he
Okay.
could figure out how to assemble them. So
Yeah.
he couldn't create the assembly line concept until he
Yeah.
got really, really good at just building cars. That was
Yes.
his one thing. And I love
Hmm.
your approach to that. The other thing, we talked about this before. One of the best things you can do as a business owner or a business
Hmm.
person
Yeah.
is just answer your phone. Just
Oh,
respond, right? When customers call, they want a solution. And if you answer your phone, you're automatically going to be ahead of like 95% of your competitors. It is shocking how many people don't answer their phones, isn't it?
it's a secret weapon I
Yeah.
use. I answer my phone. The thing is, I'm known to answer my phone like after 11 at night, because I know that person I'm talking to, they really need me.
Yeah.
And until my eyes close on the pillow, I'm going to, at least text, answer my phone. And that's usually when I book all the jobs for the next day. You just have to answer your phone. I do have help answering the phone, but I didn't for a lot of years. I've been literally, my screen time's 12 hours a day. It's
Mm.
really sick. I'm not proud of it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Yeah.
so let's talk a little bit more. Let's dig deep into your business and
Okay.
lice. So
Okay.
I wonder, I don't know why lice has such a stigma to it, but it's one of those words when you hear the word lice, it seems to me that most people feel like, they've got leprosy, like they've got this, like it's such a dirty and vile thing that they're
Yeah.
like embarrassed that they
Yeah.
have lice. What is lice and how do you get it?
Yeah. So lice can be super embarrassing. I remember when my kids got it and they were little, they were telling everybody in the neighborhood, and it was super embarrassing. I felt super dirty and I felt really like a bad mom. I said,
Mm,
how did this happen? And I'm like, God, don't tell anybody. And they're all yapping, oh, we have lice. So all the neighbors were doing treatments on their kids. I mean, it was like, it was bad. You feel so bad. And the thing is that lice is no respecter of persons. Okay. They will go to any type hair, any age, anyone. I'm writing a book called Everybody Gets Lice, and it's a children's book. And it's good for people to see because people think, oh my gosh, they love dirty hair. Well, they don't. They love clean hair. Because think about it, it's easier to lay eggs on clean hair rather than greasy, dirty hair.
mm,
So they're equal opportunity bugs. And I will say I was so absolutely shocked the first time my kids gave me lice because I told you I didn't grow up with it.
yeah.
And to think that there was actually something living in my hair, laying eggs, having a family, I was like, you've got to be kidding. Like, why didn't I hear about this? This is like the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. I mean, you can deal with fleas, they bite and leave. You can deal with other stuff, but this like wants to take residence in my hair. Like,
Yeah.
really? Really? That's so gross. So, anyway, the only way to get lice is head to head contact. Okay, your hair touching someone else's hair. So that's why I get all ages. I'll get a mom that gets it from her kids, then I'll get a grandma that got it from the grandkids. And it's just like this gift that keeps giving. And so it's 99% head to head contact. It's not living in carpets, bedding, it's not living in your hair accessories. It's because they're not very coordinated and they don't want to be away from their meal, their blood
Mm,
source.
yep.
So I've been to two lice conferences, believe it or not. It was a nitpickers convention, and the first one was in Boston, the first one ever, and that was last year. And it was very, very cathartic because, first of all, I got to meet the lady that wrote the book that I started my whole business on. I walked up to
Yes.
her. I said, Katie, my name is Amy Chinian, and I've got a story to tell you. And I told her the story about how we lost everything. I read her book, and we were both in tears because it was just like one of those full circle moments. Um, but I did also get all of my facts straight about lice. They don't live in your environment. The experts are saying it's head to head contact. And the only thing that really kills them is combing them out. And I use like a thick oil. Okay. There's other things you can use, but I like the oils that I use, oils and enzymes to loosen the glue of the eggs. We just section the hair, we comb everything out. And I was talking to my friend Katie, the one that wrote the book. I said, Katie, what about if you're in a poor country? They don't have all this oil and fancy stuff. She says, I
Mm,
know it has to be something sustainable. And so we talked about that, and they can use conditioner. Conditioner would be something they could use, but you have to have something to stop them and then comb them out. The combing is very, very important. The nitpicking part. So that's what people don't understand. A lot of people will go and they'll buy over the counter, they'll put it on their kids' hair, they'll couple swipes through and send them back to school, and they still have active bugs, and they're giving everybody lice. So it's just a process. It's the products that I sell. They're tried and true enzymes, oils, and a comb. a spiral tooth comb. My comb is very different than over-the-counter products because it's tightly woven together, so it will not miss eggs. And so the comb they give you in the treatments over the counter are far apart. This comb is very close together, very tight knit. Okay. And
Oh, I see it now. Yeah. I got it. Yep.
yeah, so this comb is my superpower. Okay. And I tell parents, you don't want to get lice back, just get good at combing. After they're out of the shower, just put it through your kid's hair. Preventative combing. I also have like a mint spray that they can put on the kid's hair, put the hair back, braided bun. Lice hate the smell of mint. Spray it all over. And at least the hair is not dangling down so it won't crawl across. I mean, those are just a couple things you can do. But lice like to return to the same heads. It's a scent they leave behind. So
Really?
I do have the
Like
same
pheromones?
customer. Yes. It's more a scent they leave behind. They know where they've been. They're tricky little guys. You know that term, he's a louse?
Yes.
Okay. That's the male bug leaving the head looking for anybody he can mate with. Okay, that's the term. He's a louse. That comes
I did not know that.
Yeah. And also stop nitpicking me. That's another one. But
yeah, no, I heard you use the term nitpick. I did not realize that originated from lice. That's wild.
yeah. So I went to 2 of these conferences with the experts in lice and just found out that everything I've been telling people is true about, it's nice to have a clean home, but it doesn't affect lice. Just check your children's friendship groups and check every family member, check their hair with your lice comb. And that's how you get rid of it.
And so as you started this out, so let's refresh the timeline for the listeners, because you had your first experience with lice. You went to the drugstore, you bought the products, and then nothing for, I think you said 12 years, wasn't it? It was a long time.
We didn't have any lice for 12 years.
Yeah, 12 years. So then you, if I remember right, after the bottom fell out and the economy tanked and you guys lost everything, you wound up back in the same situation and you buy this book. And was it just trial and error? Did you just start trying new things and figuring this out on your own? Or how did you decide, hey, you know what? I don't need to just do this for me. There's an opportunity here to make some money and build a business around this. How did you make that leap?
That's a really good question. So it was trial and error. I had to add certain products to my routine because I was using just enzymes and I was leaving bugs in people's hair. So then when I added the oil, I realized it was stopping the bugs. And so then, I went and private labeled these products to make them mine. And then I perfected my technique, but it took a long time. It took a long time to see what was working. And, it's funny because I tried to get hired by a lice company. There was one later, and they wouldn't hire me because I told them I was taking some of my own customers, and they never talked to me again. And so now I'm a competitor, but it was really, I was on my own. I told you I used to cry out. I said, God, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I really didn't know. And sometimes I just wondered if I really even knew what they looked like. I mean, it was that bad. But like I said, there weren't too many people that knew anything more than me. And I would look at pictures, I'd look at videos. And this is funny. I came home one day and I brought a check, and I think it was like $300. And I put it on my husband's desk. He says, "What are you doing out there?" And I said, well, this woman was married to the head surgeon at Cedars, and their kid had lice. And she opened up her checkbook and she said, "I don't care how much it costs. Just get it out." And I said, "Oh, I'm on to something here." And so that's when my husband said, "Gosh, you really are onto something here." And so he handles the advertising team. I'll give him ideas and he kind of runs with it. So that's how we've, complement each other. He did run a huge business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was just thinking. So I know your husband made a product, aftermarket car products, but
Yep.
how did you produce, like you sell your products now in it?
Yeah.
Let me make sure I understand the business right.
Yeah.
You do home treatments, but you also sell products. Is that right?
Yes. I do home treatments. I do salon treatments. And then I sell products. I have an Amazon store, which comes in handy when you've got Amazon Prime and you've got bugs in your hair and you're waiting for that. You're waiting for it to get
Right.
expedited.
Yes, for sure.
And then I have a Shopify store and also, my website. I keep adding to it. There was a time when California made you take all the words off that said natural. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. It's like we have to just go with the changes that are happening. We're okay now. We have a new president, but we're constantly having to fulfill guidelines and the beauty about what I'm doing is that I can walk in my salon, shoot a video, and I can post it and show you what I'm using.
Yeah.
I'm not just in a laboratory telling you, oh, this will work. No, I'm going to show you how it works. So that's the beauty of what I've created.
Yeah,
People
there's
need
tons
to
of
see that
credibility
it
there,
works.
right? Yeah, there's tons of credibility there. People don't have to
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
I
So
do.
on the products, how like you had never produced a product. How did you because like you've got very professional packaging,
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
professional products. How did you develop all that? I mean, you went from reading a book to
Right.
to at one
Right.
point producing these products. How'd you do it?
So you can find anything on the internet. I mean, you can find anything you need. It just takes some deep diving. If you find a company that will produce products, and you have to have conversations and find out their pricing, find out how it works. And it took a while. I started with one company, and I went to another company, and then I found somebody I really like. But that it takes time. But you can find anything on the internet if you want to produce something, But then you have to try it out and see if it works, and make it your own. One thing I did when I started my business, I mean, there were a couple other companies, not many. I
Yeah.
used to study all their videos. I used to study their website, and I would take the best out of each one, and I'd say, okay, I'm going to make this my own with my own twist, and that's what I've done. So I do have social media. I have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I love TikTok because a lot of young people are on it.
Mm.
And, I can post something and get, millions of views. And it's like, oh my gosh, like people are really interested in that. Yeah.
It's you said something there that I think is really important for other business owners, business leaders, because I run grocery stores. We own grocery stores and I run the business with the grocery stores.
Okay.
And so like, everybody has to eat food. Nobody's growing their own food. Everybody's
I
got to
love
buy
that.
groceries, right?
Yeah.
So um I go into a lot of other stores and what I noticed early in my career was there were people that had a tendency to try to pick apart the competitors. Oh, their floors are dirty, or oh, this is bad, or oh. And I
Mhm.
would say, you know what? You're looking at the wrong things. Look at what they do well,
Okay.
because they might be doing something good that we're not doing, and we could incorporate
Hmm.
that into our business. So the point of being here isn't
Yeah.
to nitpick them and to make ourselves feel better about how we're doing. Why
Yeah.
not look for opportunities that we can incorporate into our business? And like you just said, find your competitors, look at what they do a good job of, and then figure out how you
Hmm.
can do your own version of that particular thing and maybe do it better, maybe do a little different, maybe
Hmm.
do it in a premium way. I'm not a big fan of competing on price, because my
Hmm.
concept is even if you win the race to the bottom, like you get the lowest price, you lose, because you can't actually live off of what you make down
Yeah.
there. It's better to add additional value. Like you talked about, you've got a really specific comb and a really specific set of products that
Yeah.
will take care of lice. Like if you do it right, you don't have to worry about lice again if you work your product and your process correctly, and you
Mhm.
can get a premium for that, right?
That's right. But also, my customer service is hopefully impeccable. I answer every call myself. If there's a problem, I will call the person and make it right. Because it's the one squeaky wheel. If you don't take care of it, they'll leave you a review.
Yeah.
And people just want to be taken care of. So the worst that can happen in my business is somebody can say, "Oh, they left stuffed eggs in my daughter's hair." Okay, I'm sorry. Come back to the salon and we'll take care of it. And then you have a 30-day guarantee. So people love that guarantee.
Mm,
I have them come in for one treatment and then another treatment 5 days later. And then after that, as long as we've checked the whole family, they have a 30-day guarantee. If they find bugs in the hair, then they can come back and get treated. The beauty of that is that I have so many locations, I can accommodate most people.
that's yeah. That's and I'm actually familiar with Southern California geography because I lived there
Hmm.
for a
Yeah.
couple of years. So you are kind of all over the place. You're
Hmm.
northern, I mean Downey and Pasadena, those are down south of
Yep.
LA. So like you've kind of got it surrounded. So you've got a lot of locations
Yep.
for people to get into. And you said that you employ 30 women now, huh?
It's about 30. And we have a team also of, Amazon store manager and just different team members, graphic designer. But we're not paying a salary. My husband did that when he worked for the car company. He said, "Amy, I had so many people on salary. It was like bleeding out
Yes.
money." He said, "I
Yes.
realized just pay an independent contractor, come in and do it and help me. And, bye, they're not in payroll." So that makes a big difference.
Yeah. And that's I think you gotta too many people look at from a business perspective and say, hey, the only thing I know is you work for an hour and I'll pay you this much for
Hmm.
that hour. And
Hmm.
it's one of the challenges. I That mindset is a challenge to me, and I try to encourage people to think about compensation differently because I use professional sports because I was in that world for a while. I went through college on a baseball
Hmm.
scholarship, and I,
Hmm.
kind of understood what happened after that. And you are compensated based on the value you bring to the marketplace. That's how you're
Hmm.
compensated. It's actually not
Hmm.
trading
Hmm.
time for money. And
Right.
so if I'm a whatever, let's say I'm a professional basketball player, I have skills that entertain
Hmm.
people that they're willing to pay a lot of money to watch. And
Hmm.
I'm one of the few people on the face of the earth that has those skills. Therefore, I can charge a premium for those skills. That's why basketball players, professional basketball players, make a lot of money. And I know, like, I love teachers and I think teaching is so important. However, it's not as difficult to replace the skills that a teacher brings with another teacher as it is
Hmm.
to replace a very athletic 6'10" guy that can do
Hmm.
those things that people are willing to pay to see. And so I love that you've structured your company so that it allows you to run the company and kind of limit the costs and expenses as the company grows. You can bring on more people, you can pay more people, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. But you're not married to, like your husband talked about, that every 2 weeks, man, you got to stroke that check, and it can be burdensome sometimes.
Exactly. Putting people on payroll is expensive if you don't have to. Um, yeah, we have a formula that works for us.
Yep.
We've grown slow though, very slowly. I've brought investors to my husband, and he says to me, "You're the only partner I need."
Yeah.
And that's it. And I'm so glad he did that because a couple people, turned out to be, not so good. At one point, they wanted to do a reality show on, my business, and I thought, oh, okay, that sounds like fun, until he started wanting the producer wanted a part a percentage of my product sales because
Oh,
he was going to blow up the brand. Of course, he was going to get a percentage. And my husband looked at me. He said, "Oh, no, 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 no. We're not doing that. You'll be married to this guy forever." And so
that's right.
he protected me. He protected me. And we've had friends come in, we wanted to invest money. You're better off taking an SBA loan. The loans are cheap. They're good. And
Yeah.
growing slowly, not taking off more than you can chew, taking a big bite of something or renting a big monstrosity. And then you've got to pay this overhead and you don't have business. You're better off starting out of your garage. I'm serious. It's just much easier to grow little by little with the little money you have and just make it work little by little.
Yeah. I love that. It's, people, there's all these get rich quick schemes. I love to call like what you're doing, what I'm doing, a get rich slow scheme. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I, most
Yeah.
people never get rich. And that's what I try to explain to people is, so what, by the way, every overnight success that you see has been at least 10 years in the making. You only see the breakthrough. It's like the old iceberg drawing where you just see the tip of the iceberg above the water and you've got this huge, massive iceberg below the water that you never see. When someone becomes an overnight sensation, that's not overnight. It almost never happens
Yeah.
overnight. You just don't see the 10 years of struggle and toil and sleeping on couches and eating top ramen and all of the other things that you have to do, getting food from the food pantry. And look,
Oh,
I'm with you. I've been homeless twice. I've had my electricity cut off. I've been in all of those same situations. And it's interesting that people, say, "Oh, you must be nice to be you. You're so lucky." And I'm like, luck? I don't know about luck. Like,
yeah.
granted, I was born fairly intelligent. I was born with a
Mhm.
fairly stiff constitution, so I'm not afraid of
Yeah.
much, but I still had to do all this stuff.
Yeah, what a character builder too. My
For
husband and I look at
sure.
each other and we're always we're so grateful. I mean, we're just so grateful for everything because we've been through so much that we're just incredibly grateful and opportunities that open. It's like wow, we know where the opportunities are coming from. We spend our time praying together and acknowledging God. We like to help people too. We have a list of people we contribute to and help because that's what we're called to.
Mm.
Um, I'm done with helping large organizations because I don't know where the money goes. It's like it goes for someone's private plane. We're not about that anymore. We're like, no, we know you're going to Africa. We know you're going to Pakistan. We know, what you're doing is for the glory of God, not just, the money's out there. You don't know where it is, but we love to do that. And that feels good. And I mean, it's nice to have nice things, but you can't have nice things control you. They
That's right.
come and they go. They come and they go. I have a nice family. I have a husband who loves me. Um, and those kind of things, helping people get rid of this problem of lice. My nonprofit's called Lice Free Forever Charity. I have a wonderful donor. Her name is Margie Keys. You might know her. Her husband owns Keys cars, and she loves what I'm doing. And she is such a special lady. She strokes me a check for the whole year for all the customers that are
Wow.
nonprofit. She's a beautiful person.
Yeah.
So, and her daughter had lice. That's how I met her. So, it was a divine appointment.
Who
Yeah.
knew that lice would lead you to such all these different places and meeting all these different people? It's such a strange but fun journey, isn't it?
Well, I can't talk about all of them because I had to sign NDAs, but yeah, you'd be amazed how many people don't like talking about it because it's embarrassing. And I
Yeah.
get it. But that's why I'm writing this book, Everybody Gets Lice, because we have to understand that it's not just people that have bad hygiene. It's quite the opposite. It's being at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Mm.
That's all it is.
Yeah. So, one of the things I was hoping you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about. So there's not a lot. I've been married to my wife for 32 years, and there's
Okay.
not a lot of people around my age that have been
Hmm.
married to their spouse longer, but you are one of them. And
Oh.
you and your, because we got married in 1993, but you got married in 1991. You and your husband have been through a lot of things together, and you've made it through a lot of things that other couples don't necessarily make it through. Like when you have those financial hardships and when you have to go
Mhm.
from the penthouse to the doghouse, so to
Yeah.
speak, that can break a lot of couples. What do you think? What did you and your husband focus on during those periods? Why do you think you were able to get through those things together? How did you do it?
Very good question. His business partner at the time, his wife left and divorced him.
Mm,
She couldn't handle it. But like I mentioned to you, I married my husband because he was also a believer, a
mm,
Christian man. And I've done it the other way before. I had relationships where there was no faith and there's nothing to fall back on when you have that. Sometimes love is not enough. I mean, you have to know when you're going through something that there's something greater than yourself that allowed you to go through this trial. And so I never pointed the finger at him or said, "Oh my God, it was your poor business decisions. Why didn't you save any money? Why didn't you put money aside?"
mm.
Because it was God's plan that, we start over. And so it was never an option to, walk away. um, I think part of it is just I have five incredible children. They are just incredible. That I would never want to be a poor example to them. But I love my husband dearly and deeply. He's Armenian. We're from the East Coast. We're quite different than each other. He's extremely loyal, is sincere, loves the heck out of me. I'm not going to forfeit that to leave for something else. A lot of people give up too easily.
Yes.
And, it's kind of like this. Marriage is kind of like this sometimes. The circumstances change. You might have a teenager that's going crazy. We did that. We had that. And that was hard too. Losing everything. You end up with, owing $1 million, not two nickels to rub together. That's not fun, but you're
Right.
together. You're together through it. And of all places, I end up in Calabasas, like the very affluent city. Here I
Yes.
am. I'm like, Lord, you have such a sense of humor. So you always got to look at the good. And, I mean, as long as your spouse isn't doing something that is just so horrific, you know, life goes through changes. You're just going to go through things. You're going to go through sickness. You're going to go through losing money, a kid going crazy. I mean, those aren't reasons to walk away from a marriage, you know.
I love
Um,
that. I totally agree with you too. And the way I try to explain it to people, most people think that a relationship should be 50-50, and it's almost
mhm,
never 50-50 because at different points in your life, even though your
mhm,
relationship is at the center, you as individuals are at different places in your life. And there have been times where my
mhm,
wife has needed a lot more from me than I have needed from
mhm,
her. And
mhm,
so in
mhm.
those situations, our relationship might have been 80-20, with me being the 80 and her being the 20. There's
Yeah,
also been plenty of times where I've needed more from her than she's needed from me, and she is the 80 and I'm the 20. The
I
whole
love
point,
that.
yeah, the whole point is it adds up to 100% because you're 100% committed to each other. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm with you. If someone is like doing something just really despicable, that's a different
Yeah,
situation, but
yeah,
that's
that's
never
different.
happened to us. Like we've never, and I would argue that that's not an accident either. Like I didn't accidentally marry my wife. Like I was
Yeah,
very, I was very deliberate. We were very young,
yeah,
but I was very
yeah.
deliberate and she was very deliberate as well.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it,
Hmm.
like we've built our life around that relationship. And so as long as we have that, we feel like we can handle anything, regardless of what that anything is. And I love you talking about, yeah, raising children. Good luck.
Hmm.
What
Oh
tomorrow's,
gosh.
you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring
I
when you're
had five
raising kids.
teenagers at the same time.
That's
Oh my
wild.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just too much. And but it's like now they're, the ones that were the craziest, wildest are like running companies.
Mm,
If you would have told me at the time, oh, this one's gonna like end up being CEO of a company. She's going to like do great things. I'd be like, there's no way she's going to end up in jail. Yeah. I'm brutally honest. I make people laugh when I tell them the story. So like, okay, so we have teen pregnancy here. We have jail time here. Well, we had everything in between. Everything in between. Now that was hard. That was hard. Okay.
Sure.
I'll take
Yeah.
losing my money any day over repeating those teen years.
Yes. Yeah, I'm with you there. Like the money's much more fungible. It's much more easy to acquire and or not get attached to, from my perspective at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you talked about expanding, do you have what are your plans for expansion? Like I know you're not trying to grow exponentially and quickly, but what's the next logical step? Is it San Francisco? Is it San Diego? Is it another state? How do you think about that?
So I have the perfect little brand to expand. I've got things kind of dialed in. And we're just making some changes now to kind of make things more streamlined, in perfect position for somebody to step in and say, oh my gosh, this is great. We've got products we can sell. We've got these locations we can duplicate. I'd like to cover California first, and then maybe go into like say Arizona or Nevada. But with each location, there's a lot of work. You have to, I have to babysit, I have to hand hold, I have to do marketing in that area. So I have to wait about 6 months, 7 months, 8 months to open another location. But yes, I would like to sell one day. That would be great. I don't see my kids taking it over, or they would have been making steps towards doing that. But they could, but I'd have to see that in action. It's very hard being an entrepreneur because, this morning I was walking in my Pilates class and I get a text from my technician that she locked herself out of her apartment and she won't be able to get to the salon on time. Okay, so there's customers lined up for the whole day and she's locked out of her apartment. Okay, and I'm just walking into something I enjoy. I'm like, really? Like, this is what we go through. This is what we go through as a business owner.
So no more Pilates for you, right? Not today.
I did it. I was checking my phone every 5 seconds, but I could hire somebody to do what I do, but then you're giving up a lot of money. So until then, I'm going to just kind of just do what I'm doing, get to where I need to be, and then we'll reevaluate everything. But businesses these days, to sell a business, you've got to have everything dialed in. They don't want sloppy.
Yes, for sure. It's the whole process of selling a business too. For those that don't know, it's a little bit like a colon inspection when you've got when you've got a buyer, because they go through your books. They do this thing called equality of earnings, and businesses are generally valued based on either future. I mean, when you think about it from an investment perspective, and sorry, I'm going to go finance nerd on everybody because my degree is in finance and economics.
I love it.
When you think about buying a business, all an investor is actually buying is a future stream of cash flows. That's all they're buying. And they're looking to buy something that's worth $1, but they're looking to pay 40 cents for it. That's how an investor thinks. And so they project out the cash flows based on your historical performance and say, I think that I can improve the business this way, this way, this way. If I pay for, and I have no idea what the multiple is in a products and service business like yours, Amy. Let's just say it's 5x EBITDA. I don't know what it is, but let's just say it's that. So if Amy had $200,000 in EBITDA over the last 3 years and it's 5x, someone would be willing to pay her somewhere around $1 million for her business. Their thought process is going to be, okay, then I could increase the marketing because I'm a Facebook guru, or I'm a TikTok guru, or I can hire a TikTok guru. And I could improve on the packaging because I'm such a good marketer and blah, blah, blah. And I could turn that 200 EBITDA into 300 EBITDA. And then all of a sudden I've got a business at a 5x multiple that is worth 1.5 million. So I've increased my net worth by roughly half of my total investment. And so if people are going to do that, they're going to ask a lot of questions, want to see a lot of stuff. So, like Amy's talking about, the
Ugh.
business needs to be tight, the books need to be tight, the processes need to be tight. It's yeah, that's super challenging. I don't know how are you working with anyone, Amy? That's
No, no. I'm
no,
just trying to proactively get things tightened up,
yeah, right,
even just for me and my husband, just so we can have it better dialed in. I mean, it'll happen when it happens. You know what I'm saying? I believe
sure,
that when it's meant to be, it'll be. I'm not actively looking because I'm not quite ready.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, you've built this thing, so there is a certain emotional component to it as well, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
would be shocked if
Well,
there's not.
I could let that go. For the right price, I'd let all that go. Um,
Love that.
yeah, but yeah, I would like to spend more time with my grandkids. I have two new grandbabies, and spend some time traveling and not have the burdens of what I carry to keep this going. Um, so I believe, I tell my husband I have a 3-year plan. I don't know what God's plan is for me, but I'm saying 3 years, and then I'd really like to do something different.
Mm,
Yeah, I look at certain companies like, Kiehl's.
yep.
My son is good friends with the one of the sons of Kiehl's, and L'Oreal came along and bought them for multi-millions. Something like that. A shampoo company would do great buying my brand because honestly, people don't know how big of a business lice is. Like Burt's Bees, they don't have anything for lice. These
Right.
companies don't have anything. They're not tapped into this market. And so if I could show a company, this is like huge. And then with their money and branding, marketing, kind of guide them, it would be something great.
Well, and it's I'm trying to think of the right way to say this because it's specific, but it's not niche. You see what I'm saying? So
Yes.
like it's garage doors are a good example. I keep thinking about there's a guy that built a garage door installation business. So he just goes
Mm-hmm.
around, installs garage doors. Think about that. Who would you call if you needed a garage door installed? Nobody knows, right? So you Google it, and this guy
Right.
pops up first in every city, and he's built this
Right.
business, and it's a multi-billion-dollar brand now from installing garage doors. Like
Mm.
when I think about your business, it's got that same type of potential because lice is way more prevalent than people know about.
Yeah,
We had
it's not
lice.
going anywhere. It's
Yeah, we
not
had lice
going
twice
anywhere.
in my house when I was a kid. We had lice
Yeah.
twice. I remember it
Oh my
because
God.
we had that the and gosh, I can't remember. I it was Rid X or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it
That might
doesn't
be
work anymore. It doesn't
yeah.
work.
And
Yeah.
that steel comb, like your scalp is all on fire because my mom was,
Yeah.
combing our hair. And I don't have it now, but the whole point
There's
of
nowhere to
ginger and
hide.
salty, yeah, the whole point of salty ginger is because I have red hair. And my mom let it grow because my hair
Uh-huh.
is naturally curly. So she thought it was so cute to have this son with a redhead. I basically had a redheaded afro. And
Oh, how
so
cute.
she thought it was. I'd have gotten a
That's
lot
so
of
cute.
fights on. I got a lot of fights on the playground because people made fun of my
Oh,
hair. But
that's so cute. That's really cute.
anyhow, I
Yeah.
remember lice twice, and they're like you went back in those days. This was in the '70s.
Yeah.
You went to the drugstore and you bought whatever was there, and it was caustic. It smelled terrible. It smelled like you
Yeah.
were in a chemical factory.
Yeah.
And so I just think there's a huge application for your business, and I'm hoping lots of people see it from coming on to our podcast, and
Yeah.
it triggers some action there. So for what it's worth, it makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah. It's not going anywhere. It was funny because during COVID, everyone was 6 feet apart,
Hmm,
and I did not have a single call for lice removal.
I bet.
And
Yeah.
and and some of the nitpickers and I got together and we're like, "Is your phone ringing?" And we're like, "No." And that just goes to show you it's head-to-head contact. Um, and so it's really hard to keep kids' heads away from each other.
Yeah.
That there's always going to be lice. And now the over-the-counter products are not working. The lice have grown, they're immune to it. There's some things that you could try, like ivermectin cream, but I get all those people at my salon regardless. you miss something, and it all comes back. So yes, this is something that is recession proof, and that it's not going anywhere. So that part's good.
Love it. And for listeners that maybe you're not looking to buy the business, but you're interested in the products, you're interested in the stores, we'll have links to all of those in the show notes. So you don't have to go far. We'll put a link. It's My Hair Helpers, right? Is your website?
My Hair Helpers,
Yep.
www.myhairhelpers.com.
Yep. So we'll have a link to the website there. I know you've got the Amazon store. We'll have a link to that as well. If I think you said Etsy as well, right?
No, I have a TikTok store, Amazon store, Instagram store, and you can buy it straight from my website.
Awesome. Yeah. So just get us all of those links, and we'll put all of those links into the show notes so people don't have to go far. And you know, they ship anywhere, right? I mean, we're talking about Amazon, so it doesn't matter that you're in California. If I'm in New Jersey, I need this product. Yeah. Okay.
United States. Yeah.
Got it. Canadians, Canada, or are they just out of luck up in Canada? They got to put poutine on there.
No, I'm not in Canada yet. I'm not there yet.
All right. You guys just try that poutine. Try rubbing that poutine on your hair and see if that works. It's better than eating it. That stuff looks terrible, doesn't it?
Yeah. I've heard some gross stories. I've heard, well, mayonnaise. I tell people, don't visit the food group. You're never going to look at a sandwich the same. It might suffocate a few, but who wants that in their hair? And then some people have put kerosene. I'm like, really? That's like really dangerous. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They do that. I've heard some people in, foreign countries. Oh yeah. My dad dumped kerosene on my head. It took care of the lice and my hair, everything gone, brain cells gone. But it's people get desperate, or in some countries, they just shave your head. That's fine if you're a guy, but most women don't want to shave their hair. So
yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, listeners, we'll have all those links in the show notes. So Amy, one of the things I do, we cover a lot of ground, and I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. Super fascinating. I love how you talked about your faith. I love how you talked about your marriage and your family and how you built your business. I think it's such a compelling story to all our listeners. Like, you don't know what life is going to hand you. You've got to deal with it. You've got to take action. You've got to keep moving forward, and you'll wind up in a good spot if you persevere and you have something above yourself that you're working for or working towards or working with. I love that. But I don't want to miss anything because I didn't ask good questions or there's some topic that I didn't think of. So I always ask all of our guests, is there anything I haven't asked you about that you feel is important we talk about? Or is there a subject you feel strongly about that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about while we're in front of the audience?
So I just want to go over the main takeaway from this is that put your faith in the Lord. He'll never let you down. And the worst thing that can happen on earth, you'll have eternity with him if you trust and believe in him. So as I go through life, I think, well, I'm 3/4 of the way through. And then I'm looking at eternity. And so I wanted to do something nice for people that are struggling with a problem. So I've created this company. But in the big scheme of things, find your purpose, find your calling, find the Lord, put your faith in him, and you will be stable and you'll get through. You will get through.
I love that. I can do nothing to improve on that, so I'm not even going to try. Amy, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. You did such a good job. I enjoyed our conversation thoroughly.
Oh, thank you so much. I loved it too. And I really have not been on a podcast where I got to talk about everything. We didn't leave any stones unturned. It was amazing. Yeah,
we like to get the maximum benefit from our guests, and I feel like we really did that with you. We covered a ton of territory, and you did such a good job of it.
It's raw and it's real, and I'm here to give testimony. I'm here. I'm standing. I'm still married. We're doing great here, and the kids are all doing great. So I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful.
That's awesome. I absolutely love it. And listeners, remember, anyone that has a lice problem, Amy is your lady. She's got the solution. So make sure you check out her website from the show notes below. Amy, thank you so much. Really enjoyed having you on.
Thank you. Enjoyed myself tremendously.
Yeah. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Great job, Amy. That was outstanding.
Oh, thank you for allowing me to share my faith and everything. Wow.
Super important. No, super important. I was
I love
really
that.
happy. I was really happy that that came up, and I was really happy that you were willing to talk about it so passionately. That was awesome.
So people don't usually talk about it?
If it comes up, I like it's not a question. I don't want to put people on the spot, but I love exposing people to all sorts of different thoughts and ideas. And like I said, I am not a religious guy. That doesn't mean I don't have a ton of respect for it or see a ton of value in it.
Yeah.
But I'm very genuine. If I can't be genuine about it, I'm not going to talk about it. But I love having guests on that are genuine about it, that are willing to talk about it. And you did such a nice job of that. I really, really appreciated it.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm excited. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
me too.
you.
Me too. I think it was awesome. So, yeah, we're good to go.
Okay.
If you got any questions between now and the, oh, James, you cut us off.
I'm here.
Oh, I think James dropped
I heard
off.
you.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, my screen switched, and I thought I got kicked off the Zoom.
Oh,
Yeah, if you've got you got any questions between now and then, or anything, let us know. Make sure you get us whatever picture of you want us to use for the postcard, and
okay.
then
I'll talk to Rachel. Perfect.
yeah, perfect. And then
Okay.
send us all of your the links for your website, your stores and stuff, because we want to make sure we include those in the show notes.
Okay. Thank you so much. I enjoyed this. I was looking forward to this for a long time. You
Good,
you
me
didn't
too.
let me down.
I'm glad. I was glad. I'm glad we didn't disappoint. Thank you so much for coming
Nope.
on.
Okay. All right. Hope I get to come back. Okay.
I'd love to have you back. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll put you on the follow up list.
Okay. Thank you so much. God
Thanks,
bless.
Amy. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, there you go. So, look, like I said, I just absolutely loved everything about that conversation. What a neat lady. Really loved her passion and sharing her passion about her faith and the central role that plays in her and her husband's life, and how they keep that front and center, and how it helped them get through some super difficult times. Imagine you are at the height of it all. Things are going great for you. The bottom falls out, so much so that you move into a 500 square foot apartment and have to go to the food pantry because you can't even afford your groceries anymore. And now she's built this business up, My Hair Helpers. And through the whole thing, she's been devout in her faith and her belief. And one of the main reasons her and her husband were able to work through the stuff together. So, what an inspiring story. You just never know what people have done to get to where they're at and what they've gone through to get to where they're at. And I think Amy's story with her family and her business is just a perfect example of that. And we're so fortunate to have connected with her and have her on the podcast, and really appreciate her spending that time with us tonight. So James puts it up over here every day. Head over to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All of our podcast episodes are available there. Links to all of our social media accounts are available there. We publish a newsletter every weekday you can subscribe to there. And we want you to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our podcast, whatever platform you consume it on. Super helpful if you're able to do that. We're going to keep finding awesome people like Amy to share their stories and give you their thoughts, what they've learned, and how they've built successful life because of all of the challenges that they've faced and the lessons they've learned from those. Super helpful for you. You don't want to miss any of our great guests and any of their amazing stories. So make sure you catch our next episode. We will see you there.